So I got my hands on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. It's been a while since I bought an action camera, and I was looking forward to seeing how far they've come. Despite all the glowing early reviews, as soon as it arrived I was actually hesitant about opening it because of reports that the Osmo Action 5 records at lower bit rates than its predecessor. This was originally discovered by the people at SignD, and in their review they found that the Osmo Action 5 Pro records at 60 megabits per second in 4K 30p and 80 megabits per second in 4K 60p, which are both considerably lower than the Osmo Action 4's 130 megabits per second. Lower bit rates can result in compression artifacts and produce muddy footage. But the DJI response has been that the encoding efficiency has been increased, which should mean that the difference in quality is negligible while increasing the battery life. But understandably, the DJI subreddit has been blowing up with people wanting answers and the option to record at higher bit rates. Because of this, I was tempted to hold off on opening it for a while to see how things unfolded. In Japan, returning with an open box only gets you 50% of your money back, so I would be taking a big risk. But in the end, I couldn't resist and opened it up. Hopefully the concerns aren't going to be a problem, and I find it hard to believe DJI would release a product that's a step down from its predecessor, especially with the Pro label attached, but you never know. So my initial impressions were very good. The camera is tiny and the screens are big, bright and very responsive. Since I often use my DJI Osmo Pocket 3, I was happy to see that it works seamlessly with my DJI Mic 2 and can record in 10-bit D-Log-M. This is great because I can color grade the footage the same way I do with my Osmo Pocket 3. Anyway, I decided to do some quick testing this morning, so I updated the firmware and mounted it to the handlebars of my bicycle. Here's the resulting footage. After reviewing my footage, the quality was good and I didn't notice any compression artifacts, although I wasn't moving particularly fast. I assume these issues aren't widespread, as otherwise early reviewers would have flagged them. However, SignD did point out compression artifacts in their review, so it'll be interesting to see if more users report muddy footage as time goes on and people start to record more intense action. So while the compression artifacts wasn't a big problem, I was kind of surprised by the colors I was getting and how aggressive the HDR is. One of the Osmo Action 5 Pro's new features is the 13.5 stops of high dynamic range, but to me the footage doesn't look very natural and there's a bit too much contrast in the sky. So to bypass the action camera's own post-processing, I decided to reshoot the same scene in D-Log-M, and then I applied the DJI D-Log-M LUT that I use with my Osmo Pocket 3 footage. This resulted in much more natural looking footage that, at least to me, was frankly way better looking than the normal color profile. The look was still a bit different from my Osmo Pocket 3's footage, but some very minor tweaking to the temperature, contrast and exposure in DaVinci Resolve got the two clips looking more consistent. So what are my extremely early impressions of the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro? Well, after a few hours of use, I find the usability to be superb and I'm looking forward to testing it more. The lower bitrate hasn't been an issue for me yet, but it's something that's still nagging at the back of my mind. I just hope it doesn't turn out to be a major flaw as more and more people get their hands on the camera. The normal color profile, however, isn't really to my taste. As I've seen some other people also comment on it, I think there's a chance DJI could tweak this in a firmware update. Overall, I don't feel any buyer's remorse, since for me it would take a lot more shortcomings to jump out of the DJI ecosystem that gives me a unified experience with my Osmo Pocket 3. And of course, it still has major strength like the long battery life, responsive touchscreens, and supposedly superior low light performance, which I will be testing soon. Nevertheless, if you're not in a rush to buy, it might be worth waiting a bit to see how things develop, and whether DJI releases any updates to address potential issues that concern you.